And now for your Cuban motion. When dancing, what we want to think of doing is isolating our rib cage from one side to the other side, to the other side, to the other side, to the other side, to the other side. By doing this repeatedly, it's going to make you feel a lot more freer. Well, how do we just isolate our rib cage? What I want you to do is take your feet slightly apart. Keep everything, all those boxes stacked, one on top of the other, particularly this midsection. Many of you are going to be in this position and try to isolate and realize that you can't really move your body because you're going to feel restricted. So this midsection, I want you to feel like you're separating your hips away from your rib cage. So it's nice and tall. Everything's vertically aligned with our bodies. And then it's going to be a lot easier to isolate our rib cage from one side to the other, from one side to the other. And as you're doing this, you just want to, once again, isolate your rib cage. We'll turn around to the back and move from one side to the other, from one side to the other. Make sure that when you're doing this, you're not teetering from one side to the other and compressing your obliques. You want to think of actually just separating and keeping the same distance from one side of the rib cage to the other side, making everything very long. When you're adding your shoulders, what you want to think of doing is rib cage, shoulder, rib cage, shoulder, rib cage, shoulder, rib cage, shoulder, rib cage, then the shoulder, rib cage, shoulder goes forward and then rolls up and then back. Rib cage, shoulder rolls forward, then up and then back. So we have a very nice slow motion. Make sure that you're not trying to do this quickly. Try to do it slow so you can understand how to transfer your weight. And then we're going to transfer our weight from one leg up and over to the other leg, up and over, from one leg up and over to the other leg, up and over, to give you a nice figure eight type of motion, fluid type of motion. Make sure that when you're doing this, constantly test yourself to make sure that you're over 1 foot. Over 1 foot. Over 1 foot, because if you're split weight when you do this, you're going to realize that it's very difficult to transfer your weight.
And if this is too much for you, you don't have to add the shoulders. You could just focus on the rib cage, or not do the rib cage or the shoulders at all, and just focus on the hips, which we're going to get to right now. So as we're transferring our weight into our hips, you're really going through a soft knee, and gradually that leg is going to straighten. As you straighten that leg, you're picking everything up through the side, and then you're going to release your weight or compress your weight very slightly. So this is really important, that you don't want to, again, release everything during that moment. That we're going to just slightly compress our weight, again, engaging the lat, and then transfer to the other side. And again, straightening the leg, and then gradually compressing the weight. This is just a very soft, natural motion that happens because I'm bending first and then straightening. I'm bending first and then straightening. And if I did this in place, like a merengue type action, which you may already be familiar with, I'm just going to bend in place and then straighten and bend in place and straighten. And following the same principles we just spoke about, I'm not over-releasing my weight or relaxing into my hip to such a degree that I am able to lose my balance. So both sides are continuing to lift even though I'm compressing over a leg.
Once again, keeping those boxes aligned, making sure that nothing goes out of balance or out of whack, so everything feels very fluid, easy and natural, as opposed to in the bronze where we were just very simply moving from one foot to the other. Now we're incorporating much more body throughout, so we can learn to play, we can learn to feel, we can learn to syncopate, we can learn to just feel natural.